The planet Viridia shone like a jewel in the endless black of space. Its forests stretched for thousands of miles, tall emerald trees swaying gently under twin suns. Rivers sparkled with crystal-clear water, winding through valleys and mountains. Cities floated above the forests, constructed from shining metal and glass that reflected the sunlight in dazzling colors. The Lurian, the planet's native inhabitants, were gentle beings with green-tinted skin and luminous eyes. They lived in harmony with their environment, using advanced technology only to enhance their peaceful way of life. Yet all of this beauty hid a shadow. The Zetherians, a powerful and merciless alien species, had arrived in the Viridian system. Their ships blackened the skies like a storm, enormous war vessels bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities. They moved with precision, capturing towns, enslaving the Lurian, and bending the planet to their will. In the heart of Viridia's capital, the Lurian leaders gathered in their council hall, a magnificent structure suspended above the forest by invisible energy beams. The air inside vibrated with tension. High Chancellor Ilara, a wise Lurian elder, addressed her council. "They demand our surrender," she said, her voice steady but filled with concern. "Earth's humans have been warned. We are told to give up our allies or face destruction. They do not understand the Zetherians' true nature." A younger Lurian named Valon paced the floor. "We cannot hope to fight them ourselves. Our weapons are designed for defense, not war. The Zetherians will crush us. We must ask Earth for help, but what if they refuse?" Chancellor Ilara placed a comforting hand on Valon's shoulder. "Earth values peace, yes, but they do not tolerate threats to their allies. If we ask correctly, they may respond, in a way the Zetherians will never expect." The Lurian Council decided to send a message to Earth pleading for aid. Using the fastest communications technology available, they transmitted a detailed report of the Zetherian attacks. They included images of their cities in flames, families hiding in forests, and leaders captured by Zetherian soldiers. Thousands of light-years away, on the Earth Space Command Station, the message arrived. It was unusual for Earth to receive direct requests from alien species, but the images spoke for themselves. Humans were known across the galaxy as capable of surviving in the harshest conditions, earning the title Deathworlders. These were soldiers trained from childhood to endure extreme environments, adapt quickly, and fight with intelligence and courage beyond what most species could imagine. Admiral Kira Dane, a stern but fair leader of Earth's Space Command, studied the Lurian message carefully. Around her, officers debated the proper response. "We cannot let another species fall to the Zetherians," said one officer. "Our Deathworlders could turn the tide, but the risk is high. These are not ordinary battles. The Zetherians are ruthless." Kira leaned forward, her fingers steepled. "The Lurian are innocent. They asked for mercy, but mercy alone will not save them. The Zetherians understand only strength. Earth does not negotiate with bullies, we respond. And in this case, we have the perfect warriors for the task." Her officers nodded. Deathworlders were humans trained on planets harsher than Viridia could ever be. On the planet Dracara, for example, temperatures dropped to minus 120 degrees Celsius, and storms could shred metal structures. On Iridia, sandstorms lasted weeks with winds that could rip the flesh from bones. Deathworlders survived, adapted, and thrived. Their skills included hunting, combat, stealth, and environmental survival. They were the galaxy's most feared humans, though few had ever faced them. Meanwhile, back on Viridia, the Zetherians imposed stricter control over the Lurian. Patrols roamed cities and forests, taking any who resisted. Valon and other Lurian leaders were captured and brought before Zetherian commanders. These towering figures with dark exoskeletons and glowing eyes demanded absolute obedience. "You will surrender all knowledge of your allies," one Zetherian growled, "or your people will suffer the consequences. Humanity's humans are far away. You cannot expect them to intervene." Valon's heart pounded, but he stood tall. "Do not underestimate humanity," he said, his voice trembling but firm. "They value justice. They protect the innocent. If you harm us, you will answer to them." The Zetherian commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Empty words. We will see if your humans are more than stories." Back on Earth, preparations for intervention began. Kira called a meeting with the top Deathworlder commanders. "Your mission is clear," she said. "You are to deploy to Viridia and protect the Lurian. The Zetherians are dangerous, but you have trained for conditions far worse than this planet. Your adaptability is your greatest weapon. We do not seek unnecessary destruction. But we will strike with precision, show them what humanity can do. The Deathworlders listened, their expressions calm yet focused. Among them was Marcus Kane, a veteran who had survived 3 Deathworld environments and countless alien conflicts. He studied the Viridian maps projected before him. Rivers, mountains, forests, they all posed challenges, but Marcus knew his team could overcome them. Remember, Kira continued, the Lurian are allies, not combatants. Protect them. Use the environment to your advantage. The Zytherians will underestimate you, and that is when we strike. As the Deathworlders boarded their sleek, stealth-capable ships, Veylan and other Lurian leaders watched the skies. Hope stirred in their hearts for the first time in weeks. They had heard of humans before, of their legendary survival skills and unwavering courage. Yet they could never imagine the reality. The journey to Viridia was swift. Humans in the Deathworlders' ships remained calm, some meditating, some reviewing strategy, others simply preparing mentally for the unknown. They knew Viridia would challenge them, but they had survived worse. Their minds were sharp, their bodies honed, and unlike the Zytherians, humans could endure extreme pain and fear without faltering. Days passed and the Zytherians remained unaware of the incoming force. They assumed Earth's response would be diplomacy, perhaps a warning message, but no ships appeared. The Lurian, desperate, could only wait and pray. On the eve of arrival, Marcus stood in the observation deck of his ship, looking at the green planet below. "This is unlike anything we've faced," he said quietly. "But we're not here to conquer. We're here to protect. That makes all the difference." His second-in-command, a sharp-eyed woman named Lyra, nodded. They asked for mercy. "We're about to give them something stronger, proof that humanity never abandons its friends." The first Deathworlder ships slipped into Viridian orbit under the cover of darkness, almost invisible to Zytherian scanners. The humans would strike with the element of surprise. The Zytherians had demanded submission, but now they were about to meet a force they could never anticipate. Below, the forests of Viridia rustled, as if sensing the arrival of Earth's warriors. The Lurian, huddled in hidden sanctuaries, felt a strange hope, fragile but powerful. Perhaps, just perhaps, they would survive. And as the twin suns set over the horizon, a new chapter in the war for Viridia was about to begin. Humanity's Deathworlders were here, and mercy would be given in a way the Zytherians could not imagine. The twin suns of Viridia were low on the horizon, casting long shadows over the vast forests. Birds with glowing feathers flitted between towering trees, unaware of the approaching danger. Yet the danger they did not see was not for them. It was for the Zytherians, who believed the planet and its people were already under control. High above, hidden in orbit, the Deathworlders prepared for descent. Marcus Kane and his team scanned the terrain, noting rivers, cliffs, and dense forests. Every feature of the planet could be used to their advantage. Marcus knew that the Zytherians had strength in numbers and heavy technology, but humans had something else: adaptability. Lyra, his second-in-command, turned to him. "They expect a normal force to arrive, conventional soldiers with conventional tactics. They do not know what we are capable of," Marcus nodded, "and that will be their mistake." The first teams were deployed via small stealth craft, slipping through the upper atmosphere like shadows. They landed silently in the dense forests surrounding the Zytherian outposts. Each Deathworlder carried survival packs, modular weapons, and environmental sensors. Their suits adapted to temperature, humidity, and atmospheric changes instantly. They could move without leaving footprints, detect motion in complete darkness, and communicate without revealing their positions. The Zytherians patrolled the forests, confident in their dominance. They had sent squads to eliminate any Lurian resistance, and their scanners showed no sign of human activity. They assumed the humans were too far to interfere. That assumption would prove fatal. Marcus and his team moved with precision, spreading out in small groups. They avoided direct confrontation at first, focusing on reconnaissance. Using the environment, they created traps, pitfalls covered with branches, nets camouflaged among trees, and noise devices that mimicked wildlife. The Zytherians, unfamiliar with Viridia's forests, began to fall into these traps. In one canyon, a group of Zytherian soldiers marched along a narrow path, confident in their numbers. Suddenly, the ground beneath them gave way. Rocks, nets, and automated restraining devices ensnared them. They struggled. their strength useless against the careful planning of the Deathworlders. Marcus watched from a high ridge, his eyes calm. "Good," he said quietly. "They think they control this land. Let's show them how wrong they are." Meanwhile, the Lurian watched in awe. Phelan and his fellow leaders had been hiding in a forest sanctuary, observing the strange new humans. They had heard stories of humans who could survive anywhere, who could endure conditions other species could not imagine. Now they saw them in action. Humans moved through the trees like shadows, silent, focused, and precise. They were not just soldiers. They were something more. One Lurian whispered, "Are they warriors? Or spirits of the forest?" Phelan shook his head. "They are humans, but humans unlike any we have ever known. The Deathworlders did not rely on brute force. They knew the Zetherians had superior weapons and armor. Instead, they used cunning. Marcus's team lured a Zetherian patrol into a swamp where the ground was unstable. The patrol's heavy armor became a liability, and the Deathworlders easily incapacitated them with minimal confrontation. Lyra led another team to the Zetherian energy relay stations. These stations powered shields, communications, and defensive turrets. With careful planning, they disabled the relays one by one, leaving the Zetherians blind and vulnerable. The humans moved like shadows, leaving no trace of their passage except the occasional disabled device and a growing sense of fear among their enemies. As the days passed, the Zetherians began to realize that the humans were not ordinary soldiers. Rumors spread among their ranks, patrols disappearing without a fight, traps appearing where there should have been none, and soldiers reporting strange humans who seemed to appear from nowhere and vanish just as quickly. One Zetherian commander confronted his troops. "Report. How can they move so freely? How do they survive the forests, the swamps, the cliffs? They are not like us," a young Zetherian, trembling, spoke. "Commander, they adapt. They survive anything. They are unstoppable." The commander's eyes glowed with anger. "Impossible. They are humans. They cannot match the Zetherians." But they were wrong. Every encounter, every ambush, and every failed attempt to trap the Deathworlders only confirmed the humans' unique capabilities. They could move through poisoned swamps without injury, climb cliffs that seemed vertical, and navigate forests as if the trees themselves guided them. The Lurian leaders were inspired. Phelan saw hope for the first time since the Zetherians had arrived. "If these humans can survive here, they can protect us," he said to Alara. "They are not like the Zetherians. They fight differently. They think differently. They are extraordinary." Marcus and his team did not stop at small victories. They began strategic strikes. Using information gathered from scouting, they targeted Zetherian supply lines, cutting off food, energy, and reinforcements. Each strike was calculated, precise, and devastating. Zetherian patrols began to panic. Fear spread quickly through their ranks. Humans did not just fight. They controlled the battlefield without being seen. In one decisive operation, Marcus led a small team to rescue captured Lurian workers. They navigated a valley filled with magnetic storms where any misstep could destroy their equipment. Using their specialized suits and training, they moved undetected, disabling Zetherian guards and freeing the captives. The Lurian, witnessing the courage and skill of the humans, could hardly believe what they saw. Lyra approached Marcus after the mission. "They will not expect us to keep moving like this. We are shadows and we are everywhere." Marcus nodded. "The moment they think they understand us, we will change the rules again. That is how we survive. That is how we win." Meanwhile, the Zetherians scrambled to respond. They fortified key positions, brought in reinforcements, and tried to predict the humans' next move. But every attempt failed. The Deathworlders' adaptability, intelligence, and ability to use the environment as an ally made them unpredictable. The forests of Viridia, once a sanctuary for the Lurian, had become a battlefield the Zetherians could not control. Every tree, cliff, and river now worked against them, guided by the humans' understanding of survival and strategy. As night fell on the third day, the Zetherians gathered their commanders. Fear was evident in their glowing eyes. "These humans, they are not ordinary," one admitted. "They move like predators, strike like lightning, and vanish before we can respond. How do we fight this?" The Zetherian leader slammed a fist against the table. "We cannot underestimate them. Prepare the elite units. Use everything. They will not escape again. But Marcus and his team were already several steps ahead. Using knowledge of the terrain, they created diversions, leading Zitharian forces into ambushes while freeing more Lurian captives. The humans never stayed in one place for long, making them almost impossible to track. By the end of the fourth day, the Deathworlders had disrupted the Zitharians' control over key regions. Communications were failing, supply lines were broken, and morale among the enemy troops was plummeting. The Lurian watched in awe as humans, who had arrived quietly and unseen, now shaped the battle entirely in their favor. Velan turned to Ilara. "I have never seen such warriors. They do not just fight. They think. They survive. They protect. They are remarkable," Ilara nodded. "Yes, they are not like any species we have known. These humans, they are a force of nature." As the twin suns rose on the fifth day, Marcus stood atop a ridge overlooking the forest below. His team spread out, ready for the next phase. The Zitharians were regrouping, but their fear was visible. Humans had proven that even the most ruthless enemies could be challenged when courage, skill, and adaptability were combined. "Today we begin the next step," Marcus said. "We are not just here to survive. We are here to protect, and no force in this galaxy will stop us." The Deathworlders moved forward, shadows among the trees, unstoppable and unseen, leaving the Zitharians confused, frightened, and vulnerable. Viridia's forests, once peaceful, now resonated with a silent promise. Earth's warriors had arrived, and mercy would be delivered in a way the enemy would never forget. The Zitharians were in chaos. Their patrols no longer moved freely through the forests. Their communication lines faltered, and their soldiers whispered rumors of invisible humans who struck without warning. For the first time, fear had entered their ranks. Yet fear alone could not save the Lurian. They needed decisive action, and the Deathworlders were ready to give it. Marcus Kane and his team observed the Zitharian movements from a high ridge. Through advanced optical lenses, he could see small groups of enemy soldiers moving toward a supply depot near the river delta. He traced the safest route for his team, avoiding detection by enemy sensors and environmental hazards. "They are moving supplies," Marcus said quietly to Lyra, who stood beside him. "If we hit them there, we can cut off reinforcements and weaken their hold." Lyra nodded. "The Zitharians are starting to panic. Every strike we make teaches them one lesson. Humans are not to be underestimated." The Deathworlders split into small units, each assigned a specific task. Some would disable defensive turrets, others would cut off supply lines, while the rest would create diversions to draw the Zitharians out of their strongholds. Every action was calculated, precise, and synchronized. As Marcus led his team through the dense forest, he reflected on the Lurian people they had sworn to protect. The Lurian were gentle, peaceful, and unarmed. They had never known true war. Humans, in contrast, thrived in dangerous environments, using intelligence, courage, and adaptability as weapons. Marcus understood that their mission was not just survival. It was a test of strategy, skill, and determination. The first unit moved into position near the river delta. Zitharian soldiers were busy unloading heavy crates of supplies. Using the cover of dense trees, the humans set motion-activated traps. Nets rose from the ground, snares ensnared the soldiers, and automated devices disabled their weapons. Panic spread among the Zitharians. They could not understand how invisible humans had struck so effectively. Meanwhile, Marcus's team advanced toward the defensive turrets. These turrets could devastate entire units if left operational. Using climbing gear and stealth tactics, the humans scaled cliffs, bypassed sensors, and disabled the weapons. Within minutes, the turrets were silent, and the Deathworlders moved on, leaving no trace of their presence. In another sector, Lyra's team created diversions. They used holographic projectors to simulate human activity in multiple locations, confusing the Zitharians and forcing them to split their forces. Some soldiers rushed to phantom attacks only to find empty forests. Others fell into hidden traps, immobilized without the chance to fight. The Lurian watched these events from hidden sanctuaries. Velan's heart swelled with hope. He had feared the worst for his people, but now he saw the humans' skill and courage firsthand. "They are not just warriors," he whispered to Ilara. "They are something beyond anything we have ever imagined." Ilara's luminous eyes reflected the distant fires of disabled Zitharian camps. "Yes," she said. "They fight not just with strength but with mind and courage. Humanity is extraordinary." The Zetherians, desperate to regain control, launched a counterattack. They deployed elite soldiers into the forests, hoping to outmaneuver the humans. These soldiers were trained for combat and armed with advanced weapons. Marcus knew they would be difficult opponents, but he was not worried. Deathworlders had faced worse, and the humans' understanding of terrain and adaptability gave them an edge. The first confrontation occurred near a rocky cliffside. The elite Zetherians moved in formation, scanning the area for any sign of humans. Marcus and his team lay hidden in the shadows, observing every movement. When the Zetherians advanced, the Deathworlders struck. Using environmental traps and surprise tactics, they incapacitated the enemy without exposing themselves. Rocks rolled down cliffs, snaring nets immobilized soldiers, and strategically placed devices cut off communications. Even the elite soldiers could not anticipate the humans' methods. They had trained for conventional warfare, but the Deathworlders fought differently. They adapted, anticipated, and turned the environment into a weapon. Meanwhile, Marcus led a small team to rescue captured Lurian leaders. The captives were held in a fortress built on a steep hill, guarded by Zetherians and automated defenses. Using climbing gear, camouflage, and advanced sensors, the humans navigated treacherous paths and avoided detection. Within hours, they had reached the prisoners, freed them, and moved them to a safe location deep in the forest. The Lurian leaders were amazed. "You move through danger as if it does not exist," Valen said to Marcus. "How can you survive where others fail?" Marcus smiled slightly. "We do not survive by ignoring danger. We survive by understanding it, using it, and staying one step ahead. The Zetherians rely on strength and fear. We rely on skill, courage, and adaptability." The freed Lurian were guided to hidden sanctuaries, where they could recover and plan for the future. The humans ensured that no one was harmed unnecessarily. Mercy was part of their mission. But mercy did not mean weakness. It meant protecting the innocent while eliminating threats. As the battle progressed, the Zetherians began to lose morale. Soldiers whispered among themselves, fear spreading like wildfire. How could a few humans cause such chaos? How could they survive traps, extreme terrain, and ambushes that should have destroyed them? The answers eluded the Zetherians. Every attempt to predict human movements failed. Every strategy was countered before it could succeed. The humans' presence inspired the Lurian as well. They began to organize themselves, following human guidance in small ways. They set up hidden observation posts, helped identify weaknesses in Zetherian defenses, and supported the humans without exposing themselves to danger. For the first time, the Lurian felt that victory was possible. One night, as the twin suns set behind the mountains, Marcus and Lyra surveyed the forest below. Fires from disabled Zetherian encampments lit the darkness. The humans had achieved more than mere survival. They had turned the tide of the conflict. Lyra spoke quietly. "They are regrouping. They will strike again, stronger this time." Marcus nodded. "Let them come. They will learn the same lesson every enemy learns when facing humans. We do not retreat. We do not surrender. And we never give up." The next day, the Zetherians launched a massive counterattack, bringing in reinforcements from nearby regions. They moved through swamps, cliffs, and dense forests, hoping to trap the humans in a single decisive battle. Marcus anticipated this. He had studied the terrain and predicted their movements. The Deathworlders split into multiple teams, setting ambushes along the predicted paths. As the Zetherians advanced, they fell into traps one by one. Rivers became barriers, cliffs became mazes, and swamps became deadly obstacles. The humans used the environment as both shield and weapon, striking where the enemy least expected. By the end of the third day of this counterattack, the Zetherians were in full retreat. Their supply lines were destroyed, their soldiers demoralized, and their command structure disrupted. Even their elite units could not match the humans' adaptability. The Lurian leaders emerged cautiously from their hiding places. Valen turned to Ilara, his eyes wide with admiration. "They are not just protectors," he said. "They are heroes. Humans have come to save us." Ilara nodded slowly, tears glistening in her luminous eyes. "Yes, and this is only the beginning. They have shown us what courage and skill can achieve. The Zetherians will not prevail where humans are involved." Marcus gathered his team after the battle. "We have disrupted their control," he said. "But we cannot stop now. The Zetherians are still dangerous and the Lurians still need protection. Tomorrow we strike again, and we make sure they understand that humanity does not yield." As the twin suns rose on the horizon, casting golden light over Viridia's forests, the humans prepared for the next phase. They were not invincible, but they were determined, skilled, and united. And for the Zetherians, one lesson was becoming painfully clear. Humans were not just fighters. They were a force the galaxy had never seen before. The Lurian, once trembling in fear, now watched with hope. Humanity had arrived not just to fight but to protect, and in doing so, they had changed the course of Viridia's fate forever. The Zetherians were desperate. Their forces were scattered across Viridia's forests, rivers, and cliffs. Supply lines had been destroyed, key outposts disabled, and morale shattered. Fear had replaced confidence, and every soldier whispered the same name with trembling voices: humans. Marcus Kane stood atop a rocky ridge, overlooking the valley where the final Zetherian command center had been established. The compound was heavily fortified, bristling with weapons and sensors, but Marcus's eyes were calm. He knew fear and skill were allies, and humans had both in abundance. Lyra joined him, scanning the landscape with her advanced optics. "They've gathered every available soldier," she said quietly. "They want to end this now. If they fail..." Marcus shook his head. "They will fail. We've forced them into positions they cannot control. Their fear will guide us." The plan was simple but daring. Marcus split his team into 3 units. One would disable the perimeter defenses, another would create diversions in the surrounding forests, and the third would infiltrate the command center to ensure the Zetherian leaders surrendered. Timing and precision would determine the outcome. As night fell, the Deathworlders moved like shadows. Trees and cliffs concealed them, and their suits adapted seamlessly to the environment. In the distance, Zetherian patrols moved with uncertainty, unsure where the humans might strike next. The first unit approached the perimeter. Using climbing gear, stealth techniques, and environmental camouflage, they disabled the automated turrets and sensors. Each strike was swift and silent. By the time the Zetherians realized their defenses were compromised, it was too late. In the forests surrounding the command center, the second unit created diversions. Holographic projections simulated human movements, while automated noise devices mimicked attacks from multiple directions. Confused and frightened, Zetherian soldiers split their forces, attempting to counter illusions that did not exist. Panic spread faster than fire. Marcus led the third unit into position for the final phase. The Zetherian command center was heavily guarded, but he knew their fear was now a weapon he could use. Using hidden paths through cliffs and dense vegetation, Marcus and his team approached the center unnoticed. Inside the command center, the Zetherian leaders were panicked. Orders were shouted, weapons prepared, but no one knew where the humans had come from. Every report of enemy movement was met with disbelief. Soldiers claimed humans had appeared out of nowhere, vanished into shadows, and struck with deadly precision. Marcus and his team infiltrated the compound, avoiding patrols and security devices. Every step was calculated, every movement silent. Within hours, they reached the central chamber where the Zetherian High Commander waited, flanked by his elite guards. Marcus stepped into the room, his presence calm but commanding. Lyra and the others followed closely, surrounding the enemy leaders. "You underestimated us," Marcus said firmly. "You believed we would not come. You believed Earth would negotiate, but mercy is not weakness. We protect the innocent, and now your threat ends." The Zetherian commander's glowing eyes blazed with anger. "You are only humans. How can a few of you defeat the might of the Zetherian Empire?" Marcus smiled faintly. "We are not just humans. We are Deathworlders. We survive where others fail. We fight where others flee, and we never abandon our allies." Fear in the room was palpable. Even the elite Zetherians, trained for the deadliest conflicts, could not match the human skill and adaptability. They realized their weapons, strength, and numbers were useless against opponents who had mastered survival itself. Marcus continued, his voice steady. "Your soldiers are tired, demoralized, and scattered. You have 2 choices: surrender and leave Viridia, or face total defeat. Earth does not seek unnecessary destruction, but we will strike if you refuse. Decide now." The Zetherian commander hesitated, anger and fear warring within him. He knew the humans were not bluffing. His elite guards looked around nervously, unsure how to respond. The humans' confidence was absolute, their skill undeniable. Finally, the commander spoke. "We surrender. We leave Viridia. We will not threaten your allies again." Marcus nodded. Good, take your soldiers and depart. Never return. Earth does not forgive threats lightly. Outside, the forest echoed with quiet relief. The Zetharians began retreating, their ships lifting off the planet under the watchful eyes of the Deathworlders. Fires from destroyed outposts slowly died, leaving the forests peaceful once more. The Lurian emerged from hiding places, running to greet the humans. Phelan approached Marcus with tears in his eyes. You saved us. I do not know how to thank you. Our people feared the worst, but you gave us hope. Marcus smiled gently. We didn't come to conquer. We came to protect. Your courage in these dark times made our job easier. Humanity fights not for power, but for those who cannot defend themselves. Ilara stepped forward, her luminous eyes reflecting gratitude. We will never forget this. Your actions will be sung in our histories forever. Humans, you are more than warriors. You are guardians. Lyra placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. We did what had to be done. And now Viridia is safe. The Lurians celebrated quietly, restoring their cities, tending to the wounded, and helping rebuild what had been destroyed. For the first time in weeks, peace returned to the forests and rivers. Nature healed alongside the people, and hope flourished where fear had once ruled. Marcus and his team remained for a short while, ensuring that all Zetharians had left and that no immediate threat remained. Then, under the twin suns rising once more, they prepared to return to their ships. Phelan ran to Marcus. Will you leave now? Will we see you again? Marcus shook his head. We have completed our mission. Earth protects its allies, but our work is elsewhere now. Remember this, humanity will always fight for those in need. You are safe thanks to that promise. The Lurian leaders bowed in respect. You are truly extraordinary. The galaxy will remember this day. As the Deathworlders departed, the forests of Viridia seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The twin suns reflected off rivers and treetops, painting the planet in warm light. Humans had arrived quietly, struck with precision, and left a lasting impression. They had shown that courage, adaptability, and intelligence could overcome even the most merciless enemies. In the distance, the Zetharian ships vanished into space, defeated and humbled. For the first time in their history, they had encountered humans who could survive any challenge, endure any danger, and protect allies with unwavering determination. They would never forget the lesson. Earth's Deathworlders were unstoppable. Marcus and his team looked down on the forests one last time. Silence hung in the air, but it was a comforting silence. They had completed their mission. Viridia was safe. The Lurian were free. Humanity had delivered mercy in a way the Zetharians would never forget. As the ships lifted off into space, Lyra spoke quietly to Marcus. Do you ever wonder what they think of us? Of humans? Marcus looked at the receding planet. They will never forget. But we do not fight for recognition. We fight for what is right, and that is enough. Viridia glimmered in the distance, a jewel restored to peace. The humans' presence had changed the course of history, and the galaxy had witnessed the true strength of Earth's warriors. Deathworlders were more than soldiers, they were protectors, survivors, and a force that would shape the future wherever mercy was challenged by cruelty. And somewhere in the forests, the Lurian children looked up at the sky, imagining humans who had come from distant stars, invisible yet unstoppable, and wondered if one day they might meet the guardians of the galaxy who had saved their world. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived, and no threat to the innocent would ever go unanswered.